In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about psychic French eagles, Byron from books, improper young misses, and Sham, noun, verb, and adjective, in our discussion of Bloodlust and Bonnets by Emily McGovern.
Oh, dear me.
Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult books, series, authors, and voice actors that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to discuss Bloodlust and Bonnets by Emily McGovern.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read it and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this, but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
I'm so excited for this week. I'm really, really excited.
Me too.
It's a bit different as well.
It really is. It really is. We've never done a graphic novel before. That's my initial thought. P.S. We haven't done one of these before, so that's fun.
It is
so much fun.
It is. My initial thought is I freaking love this book, so I'm just so glad that we're covering it. So I think we've already established that.
Yeah.
Should we dive into the background info?
I did. I read an article from agreatread.co.uk with someone called Lucy, conveniently enough, from October 3rd, 2019. And there's a lovely question. Your style is very spare and distinctive. What made you decide to portray your characters in that simple but effective way? The eyebrows are incredible at conveying so much emotion. I love the eyebrows. So Emily's response is, my artistic style was actually inspired by my cat.
Nice.
And my obsession with narrating his inner life, even though he has very little facial expressiveness. He just stares at me. I project any emotion onto him just using my own invented context and maybe his body language and sounds he makes. So I thought I could replicate that with the characters in my art.
She does.
Yeah.
She does a spectacular job at it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's hilarious and wonderful in every single way.
Deadpan stares out to the audience, breaking the fourth walls, like, yeah, that's funny.
And the eyebrow, because it's typically one eyebrow.
Yes.
Whenever it's doing something important, one.
And it's literally just eyebrow or eyebrows and eyes and dots for eyes. There's no mouth.
Nope. There's no mouth. There's no nose.
Nope.
Everyone has like a distinct head shape.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a nose and lips if it's in like profile, but that's rare.
It is very, very minimalist. It's great.
Lovely.
It's such a fun style.
Yep. Oh, it's such a quick read too.
Oh gosh, yeah, you can crack through it in, a night. But it's in chapters. So if you do want to put it down, you can comfortably put it down and pick it back up again. So it is very, very good.
You can come back sometime later. A
few weeks later.
Some time passes.
Never leave it that long.
No, don't. No, you have to read it. To read it all in one go, and then just come back and read it again, and then read it again, and again.
Yes. Because you'll find new favorite panels.
You will.
Every time.
You will. One of my favorite things that I used to tell library families 100 years ago when I worked in the public library, whenever parents would complain, like, oh, my children are, they just want to read these comics. They're not reading real books. Like, actually, graphic novels are really important, and you have to read them 3 times to get everything from them. And that's what your kids are doing. Yeah. You got to read the words, you got to read the pictures, and you have to read them both together.
Exactly. If anything, a comic's probably harder than just text. There's a lot more to disseminate in there.
Yeah.
Don't be judgy about comics. That's what I'm saying.
Don't. They're lovely.
They are amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
So let's get on with this one. They are.
Yes.
All right. Somewhere in Great Britain, at the tail end of the Regency, Miss Lucy is subjected to a lackluster and frankly insulting proposal of marriage. Instead of simpering like a typical young Miss Lucy takes the gentleman's cane, biffs him across the noggin, unsheathes the blade hidden within, and lops his head off.
The dream. That's the dream.
Of course, she is accused of being hysterical by the gentleman nearby, and they must subdue her. But Miss Lucy has had enough and dispatches them easily. Her skills and bloodlust draw the attention of a vampire lady who asks her to join her secret, ancient, immortal vampire cult. Huzzah!
However, Lord Byron, from books, plunges his sword through the vampire lady, making her explode, blood splattering everywhere. His psychic eagle, Napoleon, sent him to Lucy's location. Together, they dispatch the other undead and have a snog before flying on Napoleon's back to Byron's magic castle in the Scottish Highlands. The castle is truly magic. It cleans their clothes, talks, and offers, not the least bit suspicious, suggestions to go to sleep. It's during the night that a strange whisper wakes Lucy, telling her to head to the library. Waiting there is the mysterious vampire lady who is immortal, so of course she's back. She offers Lucy the chance to join her secret ancient immortal vampire cult, and without hesitation, Miss Lucy agrees to its ruination, debauchery, scandal, and unending rampage of chaos. Then Lord Byron stabs the vampire lady, exploding her again.
Luckily, Lucy spots a calling card in all the viscera and finds out the vampire lady is Lady Violet Travesty. And the card has her address, Vampire Towers. It's so convenient. A few days later, Lucy and Byron are ready to lay siege to Vampire Towers when a huge explosion in the hedgerow throws everything into confusion. There is another vampire hunter after Lady Travesty, Sham. Sham joins forces with Lucy and Byron, and together they enter Vampire Towers, which turns out to be Byron's literary nemesis, Sir Walter Scott's estate. I can't get it because it's so ridiculous. Oh, okay, excuse me. This is Sir Walter Scott's estate, the one he built with all his money. So much money. Scott points them in the direction of Baroness de Brie, and banding together, they head out. Some time passes, and they get lost in a fog and constantly bicker. They call for Napoleon, but he has flown away to live his best life in the gaming halls and can't be bothered. Luckily, Baroness de Brie happens by and takes them back to her home. I love Napoleon.
He's exceedingly French.
And he speaks in cursive. And it's hilarious.
Byron knows the Baroness, or BB, as they had a single torrid night together once upon a time. BB agrees to take them to a ball that evening being hosted by one of Lady Travesty's ilk, even though they're gutter snipes. Dolled up gutter snipes could make a splash. Lucy and Byron borrow gowns from BB. Sham adds a bow to her blunderbuss to join in the festive spirit. Together, they head out to the soiree. The host for the evening is Countess Gladys de Harrington, the most distinguished vampire in all of London. As she's giving her grand speech, Harrington spots a disguised Lord Byron, which causes chaos to ensue. During the outbreak, Lucy is clunked on the head, knocked unconscious, and taken to be interrogated and or tortured by Harrington.
Byron wearing the ball gown is fantastic.
So fabulous.
Harridan wants to know Travesty's plans and what Sham is about, but Lucy knows nothing. Byron makes a grand entrance, then stabs Harridan, making her explode and allowing them to escape to Bibi's carriage where Bibi and Sham are. They definitely weren't going to just leave without them. Definitely not. Definitely not. But Bibi kicks them out to attend another party with a wealthy widower. So Lord Byron takes them to his club. The club, used to Byron's antics by now, allows him entrance, blood-soaked ball gown and all. Lucy, having the audacity of being female, is denied entry until she biffs some unsuspecting guy over the head and steals his clothes. Sham, meanwhile, uses the side door. Inside, Lucy finds Byron is holding court with his cronies. So she heads to the kitchens and finds Sham. Finally, a snack. They talk for a bit, neither revealing exactly why they want to find Lady Travesty. All the while, Lucy flirts with Sham, but Sham is completely oblivious. Hearing thuds coming from upstairs, they go and investigate, finding everyone either drugged or poisoned. At the entrance to the club is Napoleon.
With Byron lost and in a panic, Lucy asks Napoleon to take them to Byron's castle. During the night, something again calls to Lucy in her sleep, and she wanders into the woods. There, Lucy meets a ghostly spirit called Gwendolen, who is desperate to know everything about Lucy. Lucy happily spills her guts about Lady Travesty, how she has potential, about Byron ignoring her at the club, and her mistaken reading of Sham's feelings. The spirit loves it because she is actually a succubus who is feeding off Lucy's tragedy and stealing her life force with the intention of taking her place. Lucy is great eats. Lord Byron, still in his blood-covered ball gown, suddenly appears and shoots the succubus with a gun he just so happened to find next to him when he awoke in the forest a few moments before. Sham then appears and also shoots the succubus. And then they all question what the hell is going on. Finally, instead of thinking too much about it, they decide there's hot chocolate and comfortable beds back in the castle. So they go.
I love that the succubus is like, please stop shooting me. Just stop shooting me. While Lucy is rag rolling Byron's hair,
Good eats.
they hear strange noises. Following them to the whiskey cellar, they find a strange woman who says her name is Virginia. When Sham walks in, it is confirmed that Virginia was her old partner, but really, Sham felt like Virginia was more of an inconvenience. Deciding interrogation would be better with whiskey, they have a wee dram or 24. Suddenly, it's morning, and Sham informs Lucy she's leaving. Upset, Lucy heads back inside where she finds Virginia awake. Virginia is eager to join their crew now that they are a member down, because after all, Lady Travesty won't be happy that she messed up. Oh no, she said too much. Ooh.
Lucy tells Virginia to stay put, which of course she doesn't. So she can go and find Sham, which she can't. Asking the castle to drop something heavy on the intruder's head, Lucy sets off to find Sham. Instead, she happens upon Byron, who tells her he only just left her. Lucy.
Her Lucy.
her Lucy. Instead, she happens upon Byron, who tells her he only just left her, Lucy, but she was taller, bluer, and had a pointy face. She even gave him a drink to help with his hangover. Aww. Which probably knocks him out. Sigh. Byron, man. This can only mean one thing. Lady Travesty is in the castle. Oh no!
How did he confuse them?
Because it's Byron.
From books.
From books.
Searching everywhere, including a costume room, a gothic orangery, a bunny sanctuary room, and a second costume room, Lucy ends up in the dungeon where Lady Travesty unveils herself from an Iron Maiden. Sure. It's all good. She again offers Lucy her place in the secret, ancient, immortal vampire cult, which Lucy actually turns down at first, but then persuades herself to join. Of course, this is the point Byron comes in. But he's still hungover and suffering from the drugged drink, so he passes out again. Sham then runs in, blunderbuss at the ready, but Lady Travesty thwacks her over the head. Then Virginia runs in, but trips, causing her gun to accidentally go off and shoot Lady Travesty, who promptly explodes. Bloody hell! Can I say that? Am I allowed to say bloody hell?
You're allowed to say bloody hell.
Thank you. The castle then drops a helmet on Virginia.
Virginia's interrogation is fruitless. She knows nothing about Lady T and kidnapped the incorrect person in a dress at the club and brought them to Scotland by a special magic travelling thing. But at least it explains how Byron made it to the Highlands. While Sham is despairing over the lack of any progress or clues, the castle drops a letter into her hands. It's from BB, and though she is an unreliable source, Sham has to either believe her that there is a lead in Bath, or she has to accept that she has been consistently misjudging things and making irrational mistakes. To Bath!
Can't accept that you are not a good judge.
No.
Nope. As expected, BB's source is a wash. Lady Cornelia hosts the secret Bath, Gavotte, and Quadrille Club, which is not a secret vampire club. Whilst Lucy and Sham are drawn into the most frantic quadrille where one simply can't hold a coherent conversation, we uncover a twist. Sham meets Chalky, a fellow vampire hunter, who reveals Sham is being paid by none other than Gladys de Harridan to take out Lady Travesty. Lucy doesn't hear this. She's too busy being given the key to Parliament, and she thinks a proposal of marriage. Anyway, sick of all the false leads and Sham treating her like a dick, Lucy heads off to the spa to meet up with Byron.
While taking the waters, a mysterious old man selling remedies offers some magic pellets, which will endow clairvoyant abilities upon the user. 5 for 3 pence, 10 for a groat. Sold! Of course, Lucy, Byron, and Sham secretly take some pellets and then fall into a messed up metaphorical mind trip, where Lucy learns Sham is being paid by Harridan, Sham learns Lucy wants to become a vampire, and Byron is, well, Byron. Sick of each other, they decide to go their separate ways.
Finally, Lucy reaches Vampire Towers, and it's a letdown. Induction into the secret immortal vampire cult only requires filling in forms.
Boo.
Forms.
Boo.
And there are so many other ladies there waiting for their turn. There must be a mistake. Lady Travesty informs Lucy that the only mistake is Lucy thinking she is the only special one. She really should have asked more questions. Upset, Lucy goes for a nice dramatic walk, but not because Lady Travesty told her to. It's then she runs into Virginia, who is about to go on a last-minute mission involving some plot or other. Castles, intrigue, death traps, blah, blah, blah. Not kill Byron. Oh, whoops. Bye.
Outside Vampire Towers, Lucy sees Sham off in the distance. Sham has had very uncomfortable feelings since their fight in Bath. Like, her heart is broken. Oh. It's
Aw.
not really her thing, having feelings. Sham no longer works for Harridan, and since Lucy never handed in her forms to become a vampire, they are free to go and save Byron and promise to be nice to each other. Sham has arranged for BB to pick them up and take them to Byron's club in London. Lucy is not happy as BB has proven massively unreliable, but as Sham points out, they have no money or Magic Eagle, so how else will they get to London in time? Fair point. BB easily gets them entrance into the club, where Walter Scott is waiting to offer a bad guy exposition monologue. It turns out Scott has been in cahoots with Harridan, and while she wants to take down Lady Travesty, she also wants to dispose of that irritating Byron. Scott is only too happy to help get rid of his nemesis and be remembered as the greatest, sexiest, popularist poet of the era. I wish I could say that in a Scottish accent, but it would be wrong.
Oh. Harridan enters the scene and reveals that BB is working for her. This is not strictly news to anyone there. Lucy and Sham have always been suspicious, but it is a surprise to BB, who thought she was just doing a good turn. Lucy has been desperately trying to psychically contact Napoleon, who is currently off fighting a duel, to help them escape and take them to Scotland. Thankfully, someone throws a bomb through the window, offering them the distraction they need to escape. And outside, Napoleon is waiting for them. So they take off for Scotland. I love the scene where he's dueling. It's hilarious.
He starts off, he's like with the lady, and he's like, I used to be the leader of France. This was all mine. And there's the giant portrait of Napoleon Bonaparte. Oh, okay. Upon arrival, Castle informs them that strangers are snooping around and that Byron hasn't left his bed for days. So they decide to split up. Sham will look for explosives and Lucy will fetch Byron. With promises that Byron can come back to bed later, and yes, he can bring his sweets, Lucy tells him the noble thing for him to do will be to hide in the woods. This means Lucy can help Sham find the explosives. But instead, she finds Lady Travesty. While Lady T monologues, Gladys de Harridan arrives and the rivals start an epic battle. Well, there is a lot of name-calling. This provides Lucy the opportunity to duck out and escape with Sham.
They find Byron being pestered by Gwendolen the succubus, so they shove her off and wait around a bit before checking on Castle. They've not heard an explosion yet. Nearby Castle, they see a figure running toward them. It's Virginia, who has decided to swap sides and join their merry band. She found the explosives and a few bottles of whiskey, too. Good show, old bean. Then Castle explodes.
Womp womp.
Virginia found the explosives, but didn't disarm the explosives. Oh well, time to drink.
As the group sits watching the black smoke emanating from Castle over the beautiful backdrop of the sunset, they decide to band together officially. Sham tells Lucy she likes her against her better judgment, and they smooch. But Lucy shouldn't read anything into that. Or should she read everything into that? Yes. So, with no supplies except whiskey and sweets, and with Byron still in his 90, they go onward to adventure. The end.
It's so good. It's so good in every way. It's so good. Oh, I love it. I feel like it's ridiculously early in the show for us to take a break, but it's what happens when we talk short books.
I think we need to compose ourselves just a tiny bit to then.
I think it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd like to invite you to become patrons. We'd like to invite you.
Yo, come on over to Patreon. You become our patrons. You're gonna give us your money. Give us your money. Give us your money.
Give it to us. Give it. Give us the
So please visit us today on Patreon at patreon.com/fictional hangover.
Remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book. Are we back?
I don't know anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my cheeks hurt already.
I know. I know. I just keep thinking about Napoleon and all of his French and his cursive, and that he's psychic and he's huge and he's amazing and he has bombs. So good. So, I don't know. I don't know. He's psychic. Oh, I love him. I love him. I love him. What are your standout moments? Do you have any that you can think of?
Page 1 to the end. It just all the way through. Like, I hadn't seen Bloodlust Bonnets. It was actually Colin who'd seen it, and he went, "I've seen a comic. I think you're gonna really like it." Okay, and I saw it in the local friendly comic book store, and I was like, "Yes, everything about this, yes."
Yeah. Yes.
It's just my bag, completely my bag. It's Regency, it's vampires, it's funny, it breaks the fourth wall, it's stupid, it's unpredictable. It's just everything about this is just amazing to me.
I agree. Even though Regency is not my thing, it's not my favorite thing. It's so good.
Oh god, yeah.
So good. And the artwork is fantastic.
I absolutely adore I absolutely adore the style. It's just I'm not I like comic, like if we think mainstream comics like Marvel and DC comics, even like, you know, Image comics and things like that, the more mainstream ones. I like them. I do really, really like them. But I like indie styles a lot more. And this is just, it's perfection. It really is. It just mirrors exactly what's going on. And like you were saying about the eyebrow, it's 2 black dots and an eyebrow, but it tells everything.
Yeah. Sometimes the black dots are huge and sometimes they're tiny and sometimes they're a little bit wibbly depending on what's going on, but it's it's so wonderful. But yeah, I really like a doodle style more than really artistic comics. I prefer my comics to be tiny and silly and ridiculous. I don't want to be swept away by the beautiful artwork. I want to enjoy the ridiculousness of it. I much prefer that.
Yeah, it really does lean into that, doesn't it? Like the style and the paneling as well. It's difficult to talk about something that is such a visual medium and really do it justice. But every single panel, it really does paint the picture properly. It really does tell the story. Like, one of my favourites is the one that we used for the Would You Rather this week, where she's like, "Fetch my bonnet," and you can hear the intonation, you can hear the drama about it, and the way she's looking and breaking the fourth wall and looking directly at you. It's kind of like, yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's just brilliant. It's so fun, so much fun.
It is. It really, really is. My favorite panels are when are when Lissy is looking for Lady Travesty by herself in Castle after Sham has left and Virginia, spilled the beans and left, and Byron is passed out, and like it's so zoomed out from her, so you can see and feel how huge and expansive Castle is, and she's holding her sword perfectly vertically, running through multiple panels, going, "Oh God, oh 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 God," and she's just holding her little sword just straight up in the air, and then she opens the door to the costume room and no one is there, and then he opens the door to the gothic orangery room and the rabbit sanctuary, and then the other costume room. Then she finally finds Travesty inside a dress that looks like an Iron Maiden, and she's so excited because the dress has pockets. And there's huge spikes all over her skirt. And it's so good. And then something else that I really love about passing by the rabbit sanctuary is there's a couple of scenes throughout where like Byron's petting a rabbit for just no reason. It doesn't have anything to do with anything, but just in this one panel, he's sitting in his bed petting a rabbit, and you're like, oh, he came from the rabbit sanctuary. And then when they're in the woods outside, and Sham comes up holding a butchered rabbit that she's shot so they can eat, they're like terrified because the rabbit probably came from the rabbit sanctuary. Doesn't have anything to do with anything, and it's perfect. I just love it so much.
Oh, I loved it when when they're in BBs and they get in the costumes. And he was like, "Come with me, Lucy." And Sham's like, "No." And Byron's like, "Oh, look, a fancy frock," and puts the most glamorous on to keep striking the poses and everything. And then when they get to the ball, and they're like, "Put your sword away, act natural," and Byron's like, "I need to go and mingle." And then next thing you know, chaos has erupted, and it just cuts to Byron standing there with like a champagne flute in one hand and the sword raised up in the other, and it's like, oh shit. And how often do they stand around and they're just covered in viscera, just blood?
Oh, I know. All the blood splatters. It's so beautifully done because everything. Oh, that's something else I love about the artwork. Everything has like heavy, dark, black outlines, except for the blood splatter, and it's just all over them.
And they're just wandering around,
covered in blood, dripping from head to toe. So good.
Oh, dear me. The poor succubus, though, at the end. You know, when Byron's busy just pouring his heart out and doing the noble thing and staying in the woods, and Gwendolyn's like, and then you see Lucy go, "Shoo, Gwendolyn! Shoo, 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 Gwendolyn!"
I love when they come upon Gwendolyn the first time.
Oh my God, yes.
Lucy's just spilling out her poor little broken heart, telling her everything. And, you know, when you first see Gwendolyn, she's just barely a wisp of anything, like not even an outline of a person. She's just like a fog. And then as Lucy's telling her whole life story, she's getting color and like she's becoming Lucy. Her hair is turning red and she's getting like an actual corporeal form. And then she like turns into this giant lady with giant boobs and a giant swirl of pubic hair, and she's just standing there gloriously. And then Byron shows up and he can't tell the difference between the two of them. It's like, she's wispy and see-through. Like, no. No, I'm Lucy, not her. Come on, Byron. And then he shoots. And luckily he shoots Gwendolyn and not Lucy. But it's like, oh, well, it's very good.
You know when they're in the bath spa and like Byron's boyfriend toy person who he's been, you know, chatting up and having relations with, and he's just kind of like stoically sitting there, and then this old man comes in with the overcoat. He's like, you want to buy my remedies? You want something? It's like, oh my god, dodgy old codger. And then he just goes whoosh and then flashes everything, and it's like, oh, actually.
Yes, I would like some remedies.
Yes, what have you got? Well, this one makes you clairvoyant, but it is a high price. And oh, what's the price? 5 for a groat. And you're like, oh, actual money and not part of our soul or something. That's fine. Yeah, who's got the cash? And it's poor little Byron's boyfriend who ends up forking out. It's like, oh, bless.
Oh, I love then after that they're planning like, okay, well, we're gonna sit down together and like, how are we gonna know what we're seeing, if it's real or not? How are we gonna know when it's over with? And they're like, well, I've already taken 6 or 7 of them myself and I don't see anything. And Sham's like, yeah, I had like 5 or 6. And then Lucy's like, well, I only had 3.
Invasion of privacy. How could you do that? You're invading my privacy. I've only had 3.
Yes. And then I was like, well, I don't even think they're working. And then Sham turns and there's a fish right in her face. Like, the fish doesn't think it's working.
And if the fish doesn't think it's worked, it's obviously not worked.
Obviously not working.
Complete trip as well. That is a proper mind mess I made. The first time I read it, I was like, what the hell's happened here?
Hell is
going okay.
Oh.
It's still like, I have questions. And I
How
don't
could
want
you
the answers.
not have questions?
I've got questions and I don't want the answers. Why was Lord Byron in the area? You know, Byron from books.
Oh,
How did he meet Napoleon? Why did Napoleon decide to hang around with them?
why not? I love Napoleon. I love him so much. I love when they first meet Sham. And Sham's got her blunderbuss over there, and you know, she's like, don't come any closer. And they're, you know, behind the hedges, wondering, oh my god, there's like a whole army over here. And then Napoleon swoops in. It's like, is one child wearing a coat?
No, there's loads. There's loads of me.
Loads. Is a very small child wearing a coat. And then like, oh, you know, I've got all these weapons. Like, I had the gun. There's one gun. I had the gun. Like, she brings the blunderbuss down, and Lizzie's holding it. She's like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know. Should we shake it? And Jan's like, don't shake it. And then the gun goes off.
Yeah.
But I love it. It is a child in a coat. And the gun.
I absolutely adore the cutscenes. What's Napoleon up to? He's in a gambling hell. That's amazing. He's just surrounded by beautiful women in a gambling hell. And it cuts to him later on, and he's in a boudoir with the woman. And then 5 minutes later, he's having a duel with her husband.
So good.
He's just the stoic look on his face. We.
Oh, Napoleon is my favorite part. Napoleon is my favorite part. Napoleon is my favorite character. Napoleon is my surprise. Napoleon is my everything. I love him. I love him so much.
I love how Castle is so salty.
I love Castle too.
At first it's like, go to sleep. It's fine. Go to sleep. Nothing will happen. Go to bed. And it's like, okay. But then you find out actually it's Lady Travesty has taken over the castle.
Yes.
And then when they go back to the castle, like, Castle, are you Castle? Are you? Yes. Right. And the security systems, all sorted. Kinda. Well, what are the security systems? Me? Oh no.
Me paying attention?
There was people here and they did stuff. What can I say? It's the bit where Travesties in the Iron Maiden costume. And then Byron comes in, too hungover and drugged, falls over. Sham comes in. Nothing. It's Virginia who comes in, trips up, kills Virginia. Virginia kills Lady Travesty through tripping up. And then all of a sudden Castle just clonks a huge helmet.
Lucy's like, good job,
Thanks,
Castle.
Jeez. Yeah.
Good job. You did it. Way to go. Oh, it's so good.
If they ever made this into like a live action or something, I want Misha Collins as Sham.
Oh, Misha would be a great Sham. I love Sham. I love that Sham is
Sham.
And are you a boy or a girl? Yes.
Are you a Mr. or a Ms? Yes.
No.
But do you know what I actually found odd? The fact that Sham doesn't identify as either male or female, but they kept calling Sham her. I thought it would have been a they them. It might be my ignorance.
Well, you can choose your pronouns.
Oh, exactly.
So maybe those are the pronouns that she chose. Probably because she just doesn't care. And that's what people have been calling her entire life. So she's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So blasé about just everything.
She really is.
Feelings get in the way. You shall not have any feelings.
Don't have feelings.
All that matters is the plan.
Really?
We're not getting lost. We're lost. You're not lost. We're lost.
I love the scene where Lucy is just tremendously flirting with Sham, and Sham, completely oblivious to the whole thing, or actually probably notices what's going on and just doesn't care. But Lucy's in the background, like she's taken her hair down and she's puffed it up and she's like flowing it around over her shoulders. And then they both reach for the same piece of bread. But it's nothing. It's nothing to Sham.
Yeah.
And then
the knee.
Yes, she notices.
Like, oh.
Yes, oh, my knee. But Sham notices that Lucy's knee is bleeding, and so she rips off the sleeve to her shirt and is just tearing it up and carrying on a normal conversation like nothing is happening. Like she didn't literally just rip the sleeve off of her shirt. And so then for the rest of it, or for most of the rest of it, Sham only has a tattered sleeve on one side. But then Castle fixes it with a dress sleeve, and it's like flowy and pink. She's like, Lucy later is like, oh, hey, Nice sleeve.
Castle tried its best.
Castle's so good. Just everything about this book is wonderful.
I love how self-centered Byron is as well. Like, all of a sudden, Byron, from books, turns up. And he's just like, yes, Lucy, you will fall in love with me. And then in the hallucination, he's like, yeah, this is Lucy, my wife Lucy. Wife Lucy, meet Lucy. And wife Lucy's on the sofa going, oh dear, please come and join me on the sofa. I shall look after you. And Lucy's like, what the hell, Byron? Stop it. Stop it.
It's like, what? This is wife Lucy. Wife Lucy is different from you. Oh.
When Byron's, oh, bless Byron, when he's stuck in bed at the end because he's all like, sad about everything going wrong and everybody hating him and wanting, the vampires killing him. He's like, I just want to be in bed with my sweets. Relate. So relatable.
Definitely.
I just want to be in bed with sweets too.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you need.
Sometimes, exactly. Sometimes the noble thing is to go into the woods.
And talk to the succubus. I love the scene where Lucy is putting his hair in rags.
It's like they're just having a girls' night in.
They are. They're having a girls' night. And then, a couple panels later, he doesn't have the rags in his hair anymore. And it's very like coiffed and curly and beautiful. But like, it's because it was in rags. And now, it's done.
I like Phoebe's husbands. Many dead husbands.
Yes. Oh, so many good deaths.
Yes. Investment portfolio as well as a career choice. It's like, oh, there's an old wealthy person down the street having a soiree. Ooh. Just nip along.
There's an old widower. Better go see what he's up to.
Single-handedly dispatching all of the male aristocracy in England. Brava! Brava!
So good.
In the club, and the Tormund's like, oh, Lord Byron is like, let me in. And he's wearing the fabulous blood-soaked dress. Yes. And everybody's just like, it's just Byron in a dress, it's fine. And it's like, no, miss, you cannot come in, you're female. So she clonks some poor guy on the head, steal his clothes, and Sham goes through the side door. In our house, ever since Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers movie, where they have a freaking side door into Helm's Deep, side doors are like a thing in our house now. It's like, oh, not a side door. Rage when there's a side door, and then Sham goes through the side door, and I'm sure I screamed when I read it, side door. Oh, it's so good.
I was surprised by one thing.
Okay.
I mean, I know that earlier I said I was surprised by Napoleon, but that was just me including Napoleon in everything because Napoleon needs to be included in everything. I was surprised and a little upset that Sham and Lucy are kind of a thing at the end. Like,
yeah,
I want Sham to be solo and perfectly happy about it. Or except for not perfectly happy because that's not Sham, just
Sham about it.
Sham about it, yeah. Sham is Sham about it.
Sham is an emotion.
Yeah.
Sham is a pronoun. Sham is a noun.
Sham is a verb.
Yes, Sham is a verb.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I agree. That was kind of a bit, probably the biggest kind of, didn't expect it. But you know what my biggest surprise was?
What?
The pockets. All of the outfits had pockets.
Oh. Even the Iron Maiden dress.
Yes, especially the Iron Maiden dress.
That's why Lady Travesty likes it so much.
Look, it has pockets.
With the giant spikes coming out all over it.
Yes, just delightful.
So good.
Oh, dear me.
Mm.
Oh, it was like, there's going to be debauchery. There's going to be scandal. There's going to be rampages of chaos. I'm in. And then when she goes to Lucy finally gets to Vampire Tower, she's like, I'm not really that bothered. But then she talks herself around into becoming a member of the immortal secret vampire cult. It's like, oh, come on. You should have asked questions. I kind of like the entire thing of, and this paperwork.
Ugh.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
evil. That is evil.
Ugh. I love that there's multiple ladies there and like she's just collecting them to use whenever she so chooses. Like, oh yeah, we'll get to you eventually. Go and have a nice dramatic walk around the garden.
I will, but not because you tell me to.
So good.
Oh, dear me. My cheeks are hurting from all the laughing.
I know. It's really perfect. I want everyone to read this.
Yes.
So they will understand why we're cackling so much.
This entire episode is just going to be like snort laughs.
So good. Is it time? Is it time for Would You Rather?
It's definitely time. So we asked on social media, would you rather join the secret ancient immortal vampire cult or take down the secret ancient immortal vampire cult? On Facebook, 83% of you are joining, 17% are taking it down. On Instagram, 63% are joining the cult and 37% are taking it down. Twitter, everyone joining a cult. Sounds about right, actually.
Yeah.
On TikTok, 67% are joining the vampire cult and 33% are taking it down. I would not trust the accuracy of those statistics based on the comments.
No, right? Oh, so many good comments, though.
Yes. L20 Kev on Instagram said, join the secret cult and get turned, just so I can take them all down. The best vampire hunters are vampire hunters. Bum, bum, bum.
It's almost like he knows us.
Yeah, I know. Do you think he might have listened to an episode or two?
One or two, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, vampire hunters are the best. Crinoline the Frog. Yes, it is. Crinoline the Frog on Instagram said, take him down. Be the badass bitch that carries a big ass sword because, gentlemen, I do hope you like honey, for I have a bee in my bonnet.
Extra points for quoting the text.
Indeed.
Brie Tart on Instagram said, join, then take them down from the inside.
Yes. Finally, Colin on Facebook said, I'm all over taking down the cult. I don't think I'm cut out for joining a cult. I have a nasty, chaotic streak running through me, which would likely lead to me getting kicked out of the cult for doing something like opening the curtains during the day. To be fair, if you open the curtains during the day, probably you'd kill everyone on the inside.
Yeah. It's
But
just
then
the
you
red
could
face
run
you
it.
have to worry about.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Mm.
True.
Yeah.
What about you? Or do I need to ask?
Seriously?
Yeah, we're joining the cult.
We're practically
Without a
vampires
question.
already.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if it requires paperwork.
I will fill in the forms. I'm used to filling in forms and
Yeah.
It's fine. Pass me the paperwork right now.
If that's all it takes, I'm in.
Seems like a pretty easy deal.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like there was a lot of forms.
No, probably just like a sheet of paper, just one.
Yeah. Don't
Doing
ask
it.
my national insurance number because I can never remember that though.
Do you think they'd give you insurance as part of the cult?
It's in Britain, so yes. You'd be part of the National Health Service.
Yeah. All right.
But it is Regency Britain, and we didn't have it back then. We had poor people
Hmm.
and cholera.
But if you're a vampire, you're immortal, so you probably don't need the insurance.
Well, exactly. Who needs healthcare when you are an immortal vampire?
When
In
you
a
can get
cult.
exploded multiple times by swords and guns, and then you're back 3 panels later.
Yes. Join the secret immortal vampire cult. Go to the Scottish Highlands and visit Gwendolyn.
Yes, I want to be friends with Gwendolyn.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Perfect.
Next question. Or the bus drive by or whatever's happening out there. It's a struggle. Okay, next question. Would you rather your husband be tragically crushed by an ornamental suit of armor or be sliced in half by an enormous ceremonial scimitar or have an altercation with an antique ice pick?
Interesting. I think now, when I read the book, I have mentioned these to my actual husband,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to go with his choice.
Okay.
Okay? I'll honour his wishes and his
Good.
final moments. Be sliced in half by an enormous ceremonial scimitar. Because hopefully it's attached to some kind of really cool statue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially even a bit Indiana Jones style.
Ooh, yeah.
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 It could be like an adventurer.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be just, I mean, this is British in Regency, so there's a very good chance of somewhere stealing somebody else's relics to put in the
Yes.
British Museum. That is, highly likely. And the aristocracy did tend to do that as well. So yeah, enormous ceremonial scimitar
Okay.
with entire backstory to it.
Right. Of course. I
What about
think
you?
I'm going to go with being tragically crushed by an ornamental suit of armor. Because I know it's probably not the same, but I imagine it's being dropped by Castle. You know how Castle dropped the giant helmet. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with that. Only if Castle drops it though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question I really don't think I need to ask you because I know the answer to this beforehand. Would you rather have a magic castle or a giant psychic French eagle?
A giant psychic French eagle.
We.
What about you? What are you?
I'm going to go with the magic castle because I'm hoping it also comes with the 2 costume rooms, the gothic orangery and the bunny sanctuary.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I do like the 2 costume rooms. I really do.
Well, you can fly your giant psychic French eagle to my castle and we'll just have fun in the costume rooms.
Okay. That sounds
and
like a good plan.
Go into the cellar and get the whiskey.
Yeah. And then, whenever we want to go anywhere and arrive in like an extravagant fashion, we'll get on the giant psychic French eagle.
Perfect.
Arrive with style.
Road trip.
Panache. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Good plan. Good plan.
That was the easy one.
Yes, definitely. Would you rather have a restorative trip to the spas in Bath or an evening at the Bath Gavotte and Quadrille Club or go for a nice dramatic walk in the rain?
Not the Gavotte and Quadrille Club because the quadrille is a confusing dance. It's so confusing. I've seen it being performed and I got lost. Do I want to walk dramatically in the rain? Could lead to a Mr. Darcy proposal. But I know, screw it, I'm going to go for a restorative trip to the spas of Bath. Then, some crackly old guy might sell me some remedies.
Yeah, if you can get the remedies, that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the quadrille club. I'm going
You
to go
want to keep
because
the Parliament. The password is treason.
yes. I hope that I will leave the quadrille with multiple marriage proposals, learn some secrets from
Yeah.
people who are accidentally cut off in the middle of their conversations. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Plus, it would just be fun. Just be fun.
I've just got this image of just being spun around and spun around and spun around, and
Yep.
it finally ending you kind of like hair's mussed up, you're out of breath and going, what just happened?
How many proposals have I accepted?
What's this? It's just like a bloody dagger or something in your hand.
Yes. How did that get there? It wasn't me. Yep.
Who can say? Okay, last question. Would you rather work for Lady Violet Travesty or Gladys de Harridan?
I just really like Lady Violet Travesty. I like the way she looks. Her giant, like, purple pointy nose and her huge bonnet.
So pointy, so huge, so blue.
And her Iron Maiden dress. Yeah, I just
with the pockets.
With the pockets.
That's
yes,
important.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like, she's gathering all these ladies to eventually become vampires. Like, she's taking care of people. She's thoughtful.
She's taking care of them and taking care of them. I want to work for Lady Violet Travesty as well, because I like the idea of this army of, misses who have in some way just gone, fuck off to the Regency lifestyle.
Mhm.
And like Lucy beheading the guy who with the insulting proposal, and then going on a rampage of all the gentlemen who were like, she's hysterical, oh my gosh, she's hysterical, dead.
That was the original comic.
Yes.
And then she made the rest of it based on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then when you're in Vampire Towers and Lucy's talking to the other miss, and it's, what's your story? And she was at a picnic and she cut off the face of the Reverend.
I love that. Oh.
I relate to all of these women.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you would get your found family in this, as long as you realize that everybody is being picked because they are all special.
Yes,
for their violent, explosive ways.
Yes, they're all hysterical in some way, shape, or form. Oh, it's good. We'll be there together. We can take dramatic walks in the rain together.
Perfect.
But because we choose to.
Yeah. I'm not conforming to any stereotype.
No. All right. Favorite final thought quote?
Yeah.
The entire thing? Page 1 to the end?
Page 1 to the end. I might have a few. Do I have a limit?
I have 7.
I'm just going to go through them. I think I have a few more than that.
Yeah, I had to cross-reference yours and make sure we didn't repeat anything.
Well, we'll just say some of them are ours.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I do hope you like honey, for I have a bee in my bonnet. Thank you, null and void for
Yes.
putting that in the would you rather.
Yes, indeed.
And then the bring me my bonnet from the would you rather panel, because yes, perfection. It's got to be one of my favourite panels in the entire thing. Lady Violet, travesty, you know her? Is she here? I have heard the name, a creature of darkness, bringer of chaos, consort of the demonic and depraved, massive bonnet. Yes, that's her. I am not stroppy. I am enigmatic and I am not stroppy. I am an I can't say it. I am not stroppy. I am an enigmatic and unpredictable genius. Can't trust anyone, really. It's like I always say, why tell the truth?
Sham.
Oh, Sham.
Come on.
Snacks, you say? Snacks! Put that one in after a conversation we had the other week. I am a spirited young lady flouting the gendered expectations of her time, but in a cute way. Come on, you wanted some fun? Yes, but I meant the kind where you stay in your nightie and don't do anything. Yes, Byron, I completely relate to that one.
Oh, Byron.
What books have you been reading? Filthy ones! That one very, very, very hits home. Husbands, such clumsy legacy bequeathing dares. Ah, baby. And my last one. Sometimes I just want to stay in bed and eat sweets.
Very good. Very good.
Oh, dear me.
Okay. My turn.
Yeah.
I shall be watching you. I mean, watching over you as you sleep. That is, I shall ensure that your slumber is not disturbed and that you do not wake for some time. In a general way.
Thanks, Castle.
Thanks, Castle / Lady Travesty. I have stolen the gun. Just stay on high alert about everything at all times and we'll be fine. It was more than just a piece of bread. It was what the piece of bread represented. And soon I'll be a glamorous vampire doing glamorous vampire things, and that'll show them. If I shot you in the face right now, the papers would say you died tragically young. And finally, nothing like a harebrained scheme to enliven things.
Oh, dear.
So good.
So good.
All right. If you liked this, try this. What do you have?
An aching face from all the laughing. By me. What I genuinely have is Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker, and the artist is Wendy Zhu. And it is how you pronounce it? Zhu?
I think so.
And the artist is Wendy Zhu. And it is another graphic novel. And it's fun. It's just fun. I'm going to give you the summary from blackwells.co.uk. It's a story of love and demons, family and witchcraft. Nova Huang knows more about magic than your average teen witch. She works at her grandmother's bookshop where she helps them loan out spell books and investigate any supernatural occurrences in their New England town. One fateful night, she follows reports of a white wolf into the woods, and she comes across the unexpected, her childhood crush, Tam Lang, battling a horse demon in the woods. As a werewolf, Tam has been wandering from place to place for years, unable to call any town home. Pursued by dark forces eager to claim the magic of wolves and out of options, Tam turns to Nova for help. Their latent feelings are rekindled against the backdrop of witchcraft, untested magic, occult rituals, and family ties, both new and old, in this enchanting tale of self-discovery. It is very nice. It is very sweet. What have you got?
My life as a background Slytherin.
Of course.
Also
I would have
by
been
Emily
upset if you
McGovern.
didn't. I would have been upset if you didn't tell me that.
I know. I've loved it forever. Especially every time Snape does anything, because Snape is so delightfully gay, throwing stars in the air and twirling in the background.
He's
Wonderful.
fabulous, darling.
He is so fabulous. And I mean, I know it's not a book, but most of it's available to read online for free.
It
And
is.
it's good.
It is.
Should I actually suggest a book though? Because that doesn't really count.
It does count. It counts heavily because Emily McGovern is a fantastic creative force. So go and check out her My Life as a Blackground Slytherin because it's amazing.
Yes.
But if you do have a book,
I do have
go on
a book.
then. Go on then.
Okay. So my book is a graphic novel, and it's Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. And the summary is from Goodreads. Nimona is an impulsive young shapeshifter with a knack for villainy. Lord Ballister Blackheart is a villain with a vendetta. As sidekick and supervillain, Nimona and Lord Blackheart are about to wreak some serious havoc. Their mission? Prove to the kingdom that Sir Ambrosius Goldenloin and his buddies at the Institution of Law Enforcement and Heroics aren't the heroes everyone thinks they are. But as small acts of mischief escalate into a vicious battle, Lord Blackheart realizes that Nimona's powers are as murky and mysterious as her past, and her unpredictable wild side might be more dangerous than he is willing to admit.
Goldenloin.
It's so hilarious. Goldenloin has like a big, glorious mane of hair. It's wonderful.
Of course, I've seen this in the friendly local comic book shop, and it's one that I keep picking up, but I haven't purchased. Or have I?
Or have you? Oh, I'm very interested in this one, even though I've flipped through it, and I've read most of it. I flipped through it when I first discovered it a long time ago when it first came out, and then, recently I accidentally sat down and read it. But it's also an audiobook featuring January Lavoie and a full cast. So it's going to be good.
That would be interesting, like translating a comic into an audiobook.
Yes. I'm going to listen to it. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited to listen to it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. So I have something new that I want to just throw in here. A new segment, because we get requests all the time that people don't know about on our website from indie authors. And we love indie authors. And they say, hey, I've got a book coming out next week. I've got a book coming out next month, and it's about this. And here's all of this information about it. And they offer us EPUBs, and they share their wonderful stories with us. But we can't really invite them on the show or help them out with their promotions because we don't find out about it in time. And because we have our schedule done very, very, very far in advance. I believe we've got the rest of the year scheduled already, and it's July. So in order to help these indie authors out and to let you all know that we are reading your requests, and I mean, I do respond to them, but still, I wanted to do something special. I wanted to have another segment thrown in at the end of the show where we share these indie authors, because we don't get to help them out with their, with their promotions in time. And like, I just want to. So what spurred this whole thing on, what made me decide to add this in is the book called Catwalk by Nicole Gabor. And this was like the third or fourth request that we got in 1 week. And I was like, what are we going to do? We have to do something. So I want to share the synopsis for these indie books. And, you know, a lot of the times we come back to the things that we recommend. So maybe eventually we'll get around to doing these too.
Exactly.
So this one is called Catwalk by Nicole Gabor. And actually, it just came out yesterday. So everyone go and check this book out. When 18-year-old shy suburban aspiring model Catherine Watson suddenly has it all as the New York fashion world's new it girl, she thinks she has everything she ever dreamed of. Or was it right in front of her all along? Leaving her good girl image behind, Kat quickly learns things aren't always what they seem on the catwalk, and she's faced with a decision that will change her life forever. This book is inspired by the author's own experiences living and working in New York City as a model. It chronicles the pinnacles and perils of the gritty and glamorous fashion model world through the eyes of its 18-year-old protagonist, Catherine Watson. Nicole felt compelled to write about the inner workings of the world that our society seems to glorify, and yet which can have a soul-sucking underbelly.
Ooh, interesting.
It sounds like a lot of fun, and I really wish that we could get in on the ground floor with some of these things, you know, like we did with Amy McCaw and Mina and the Undead. We found out that was coming out months and months and months before it was, and then we got to help promote it, and we did all of this.
A lot of fun.
So much fun. We shared so much stuff on Twitter. There were competitions and all sorts of stuff, and then we had Amy on the show after her book came out, and it was just a lot of fun.
That's it. There's a little Team Mina community now, and it's nice to be part of that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, unfortunately, because we have to plan so far in advance, because we have to do the podcast around our personal lives, our working lives, and time zones. When we have debut like books, or you know, the new books are coming out, we have to slot them in the schedule and make sure that we know that's that book. Heck, next month's book club theme is Season of the Witch, because of PC Cast and Kristen Katz's new book Spells Trouble. We designed a theme specifically just for that. That was a year ago we planned that. But yeah, I love the idea of giving the listeners these books and helping boost new authors as well, and new books onto the market.
Yeah.
Great.
So indie authors, if you can get to us when you're in like the promotional stages of your book, we will help.
Yeah.
We'll share everything. We're excited.
We will do what we can where we can.
Yes. Okay. Now that's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
And
join us next time as, hey, we discuss Spells Trouble by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book. Stop this recording.